The history following, or better than just the following history, is a true history and it took place in the northern part of Brazil, in the Amazon rainforest. Dave Boyer and Crystal Wednesday had a frightening adventure that they will never forget. A 2 hour hike in the Amazon rainforest became a 6 day test of survival and sanity. Hiking along a path through the rainforest, Dave Boyer and Crystal Wednesday were enchanted. Bats hung upside down from branches and parrots screeched from the trees. Green frogs darted after spiders that looked like tiny monsters. The two American college seniors were staying at the Amazon Youth Hostel, a remote group of wooden cabins at the head of Brazil's Rio Camarão Grande. They planned to return to the hostel well before sundown on this Tuesday in late May, so Boyer carried just enough in his backpack to last for the day. He had 6 cereal bars, a little bit of wood, a bottle of insect repellent, a knife, a camera, and a compass. They had been told that the trail marked by White Arrow ended at a river and that it would take them 2 hours to walk there. But they never came to anything they considered a river. The rainforest was full of water. Perhaps they had walked right through the shallow part of the river and on into the jungle. Finally, around mid-afternoon, they decided to turn back. Behind them was a wall of green. The brush seemed to have closed over a path that could have been made by animals. They looked for their own footprints in the wet soil and for broken branches. They saw nothing. No familiar landmarks, not a single white arrow. Boyer figured they had taken a northwesterly course, so they headed southeast. But to walk a straight line through the trees was impossible. Wednesday shouted for help, only to be answered by a call from unseen birds. "We have to be realistic," she said. "We may have to spend the night out here." They made a place to sleep out of palm fronds. Everything changed with darkness. A cloud of red mosquitoes descended, stinging right through their shirts. They heard the sounds of animals moving about. At first light on Wednesday, they woke at east. They were confident they would be at the hostel for breakfast. At noon, there was still no river inside and their drinking water was gone. They were becoming dehydrated. They found a dry place on which to spend a night or two. To protect against the mosquitoes, they covered their faces, hands and feet with mud, but once the mud dried on their skin, the insects got right through. Day 3, Thursday, they split a cereal bar and collected string water to drink. By heading southeast, Boyer felt sure they had come to a river that would lead them to civilization. They walked through a section of forest so dense they had to squeeze sideways between trees. Thorns cut into their legs and their hands. Black ants dropped off the trees and got inside their shirts. That night, they covered themselves with dirt. It did not stop the mosquitoes. Then it began to rain, cold rain, and Wednesday began to shiver. Boyer held her close. She felt that her mind was falling apart. When the rain finally stopped in the morning, Boyer and Wednesday found a patch of sunlight to dry out in. Their bodies were covered with red welts. A noisy chatter started in the trees as they began to walk. Some 21 meters up, a column of black and brown monkeys swung in the branches watching them. Wednesday knew that monkeys lived in the most remote areas of the jungle. She and Boyer were more lost than ever. Saturday morning, day 5. They were sharing their last cereal bar when they heard the sound of a boat engine sent them running. "We are saved," Boyer thought. They ran through the brush, chased the sound across a maze of white sand and then back into the jungle. But when they stopped to listen, all they heard was the cry of birds, no other sound. Their hand had blew up blister on Wednesday's feet. Now every step was shortened. She tied vines around the lower part of her legs to cut circulation and ease the pain. Trying to walk, she fell. Boyer could see how tired Wednesday was. "Just make it to the end of the day," he said. Boyer tried to keep Wednesday moving when he too began to fail. Wednesday took the lead, climbing over fallen trees by pulling her legs up with her hands. By late afternoon, they came out of the trees and onto to a sandy area. This made Renzi very happy. She flung off her boots and rolled in the sand. Under a starlit sky, the two fell asleep. They were on an incline above Sambuca. In the morning, they climbed down from there and found that the Ucha became deeper and deeper. Was this the river? Just after 5 that afternoon, Renzi shouted, "There is people!" Two men slowly paddled toward them in canoes. They took the two Americans aboard. At a village an hour and a half away, the woman brought them bread rolls, fruit juices, and dry clothes. The woman cut thorns from their flesh and treated their wounds. That night, Boyer and Renzi slept soundly. Days later, they returned to the hostel and they went hiking again, but with guides and always marking their trail.